From Neural Newscast, this is Stereo Current, sound, culture, and the systems that shape them.
Stereo.
Welcome to Stereo Current for August 9th, 2026. This is your daily briefing on indie intelligence and scene culture. I am Sloan Rivera, coming to you with a curated lens on the sounds currently shaping our world.
And I'm Julian Vance. We are digging through the crates and the headlines today, finding the warmth in the analog and the edge in the digital. It is a heavy week for the production nerds, but there is plenty of new blood keeping the spirit alive.
Let's start with a release that feels like it was written in a rain-soaked alleyway after a particularly grueling therapy session. Recently, Cassie Bouchard dropped her debut single, Telescope. And Julian, it is giving me major Riot Girl energy wrapped in an indie pop bow.
It really is, Sloan. She is calling it the love child of the grungier side of that movement, and you can hear the raw authenticity in those scuffed boot vocals. It has wisdom, but it is still wearing its scars on its sleeve.
The imagery of the girl with the telescope, looking at a moon kept out of reach, is such a sharp exposition of desire versus reality. She wrote it after a trip to LA, where the sky itself felt like it was mocking her creative dreams.
It is that glass ceiling metaphor. Amelia Vandergast at A&R Factory noted that Kathleen Hanna would be proud, and I have to agree. It is a melody sharp enough to draw blood, but it keeps a foot in that whimsical indie pop space with the chamber strings.
Speaking of drawing blood, the sibling duo Reality Distortion just released their Ceasefire EP. It is a blend of dream pop and grunge that feels incredibly urgent, partly because it was inspired by community action in Minneapolis.
I love the way they handle tension, Sloan. The title track starts with reloading samples and then melts into this caressing, dreamy pop trance. It is not just music, it is a rumination on peace and collective action.
Tracks like Speak Now really hit that soulful call to action note, while Renaissance moves into a more analytical space with tender acoustics and spoken word intros. It is rare to find an EP that flows this naturally from protest to hope.
It's that magnetic vocal interplay they have. You can tell they have lived through the anxious times they are singing about. Obscure Sound really captured it. It's an immersive, emotionally resonant success.
Now, Julian, let's head over to Stockport, because Baby B is doing something truly interesting with shoegaze distortion on her new single, Pretty Boys. She's essentially stripping the glamour from superficial lust. She's calling it anti-good girl pop. It has that shoegaze trifecta of distortion, reverb, and saturated delay. Lyrically, she's exploring the Oedipus complex through the lens of modern dating rot. It's quite biting. It is a direct critique of the watered-down pop we see on the charts. She is working with an all-female production team, including Alex O'Shaughnessy and Luz Corrigan, and there is a real hope that she will become as seminal to Manchester as Joy Division.
If Pretty Boys is any indication, the male loneliness epidemic is about to get a lot lonelier. It is a hypnotic harmonies meets distortion vibe that hits all the right cerebral spots.
Moving from the distortion of Stockport to the algorithmically bruised heart of LA, we have Waddle. His latest single, Brighter Days, is being described as an indie folk lifeline for the swipe age of romance.
I am hearing a lot of Elliott Smith in his confessional poll. It is very candlelit and intimate. He handles everything from writing to mixing, and you can hear that tender fingerprint in the negative space of the production.
It's a reaction to the Tinder void, isn't it? Instead of swiping through facades, you dial into these honeyed, wholesome melodies. It's a song for people who feel their head hitting the pillow while uncertainty fills the room.
Exactly, Sloan. It's about making small songs feel communal. He understands that restraint can be an emotional force. Tens of thousands are already finding him on Spotify, and it's easy to see why. It's solitude turned hopeful.
And while we are in LA, we have to talk about Julian Cherasi. He is a classical flamenco guitarist who has been playing for 18 years, and his latest, Death of the Universe, is just sacredly scorched.
Sloan, the way he lets the lyrics cascade over the guitar strings without forced diction is incredibly raw. You hear the shadows of Radiohead and Pink Floyd, but that finger-style flamenco intricacy is all his own.
It sounds like it was recorded in a church. The arcanely choral glow makes the whole thing feel like a threshold between pain and rebirth. It's art rock that defies the standard indie folk formula.
It's a reminder that real technical chops can still be used for deep, emotional storytelling. He's pulling that guitar language from the likes of Tommy Emmanuel, but making it feel completely modern.
Speaking of craftsmanship, let's look at Covent. This trio from Leeds just released Permanent Decay as part of their debut album Under the Changed Sun. They have been an underground staple for a while.
They have that grunge gaze sound down, fuzzed out guitars paired with sensitive vocals. They worked with producer Bob Cooper for 3 years to make sure the album flowed as a single experience, rather than just a collection of singles.
I respect that commitment to the long-form listen, Julian. If you are a fan of bands like Basement or Teenage Wrist, you will find yourself right at home here. They have been building this reputation at DIY venues like Boom Leeds for years.
It is that dynamic between David Lee's vocals and the heavy, distorted backdrop. It feels like the natural evolution of the UK indie rock scene, staying true to the underground while aiming for something more expansive.
Now, for a bit of a scene deep dive, Connor Fischetti recently gave a revealing interview about the state of modern musicianship. He is very much a rejection of the soulless electropop and AI-driven trends we are seeing.
Sloan, he made a great point about how technology should be a tool, not a substitute for human expression. His self-titled album really came to life once he put it in the hands of a full band. That fluidity and improvisation can't be faked by an algorithm.
He draws from a really soulful well. Jeff Buckley, Prince, Blur, and even Bruno Mars. You can hear it in a track like Don't Let Me, which captures that awkward, cringy vulnerability of early college romance.
He has built a strong reputation in East Lansing for his live shows. He believes people want to step outside their own heads for an hour, and soul-driven sound is the way to get them there. It's all about trusting yourself over the internet.
If you want to go truly interstellar, though, you have to hear Howl by Off-World Narcotics and Shed from the Body. This is dark wave trip-hop that feels like a supernova.
Led by Brian Drummond, they've channeled that Massive Attack and Portishead gravitational pull. It has shoegaze walls of sound and industrial electronica rhythms that hit with violent discipline.
The appreciative Shirley Manson-esque vocals just smolder. It is already getting attention from WFMU and amazing radio, and honestly, it leaves a literal scorch mark on the nervous system. It is kinetic and seductive all at once.
It is the vanguard of the new trip-hop movement, Sloan. The tension they maintain throughout the track is just masterfully handled. It is dark, it is cosmic, and it is very necessary right now.
We also have a new single from Sweetbreads, which is the project of Melody Stolp. It is called Open Mic, and it is a preview of her upcoming album, Punisher of Love, which is out September 25th.
This is the kind of song that rearranges your emotional furniture while you think it is just background music. It is warm indie folk with an alt-country flavor, exploring addiction and ambition with zero melodrama.
Melody wrote it after a night at a dive bar, watching a friend struggle while questioning her own obsession with music. It is honest, lived in, and it refuses easy answers. Sometimes the loudest thing an artist can do is refuse to shout.
That restraint is what gives it staying power. Every listen reveals another layer. It is clear that Sweetbreads is building a catalog rooted in empathy rather than fleeting trends. It's a very promising glimpse into the new album.
We have to end today's briefing on a somber note. The industry is mourning the loss of electronic music pioneer William Orbit, who passed away on July 23rd at the age of 69. The news was shared by his family this past week.
he was a complete madman genius, as Madonna once put it. Orbit was the architect behind the late 90s pop sound, most famously Madonna's Ray of Light and Blur's experimental 13. He brought ambient textures and trip-hop into the mainstream without losing the underground soul. Even his solo work, like the reimagining of Samuel Barber's Adagio for strings, became an electronic anthem. He was a treasure in the industry who always brought the best out of the artists he worked with, like All Saints and Beth Orton. He lived a storied life, Sloan. From leaving school at 16 to immersing himself in the post-punk underground to overcoming substance abuse later in life. His final album, The Painter, arrived in 2022, but his influence will be felt for generations. A true icon.
It is a reminder that the sound of the future is often built by those willing to play the mad professor in the studio. William Orbit certainly did that, and he did it with grace and curiosity.
That is our roundup for today. From the legacy of Orbit to the new voices like Cassie Bouchard and Sweetbreads, the indie scene continues to be a space for the raw, the real, and the refined.
All right, let's dive into 10 essential listens for your week, curated to keep your rotation fresh.
Starting at the top, we have Madonna's Ray of Light. It is that definitive William Orbit production that perfectly bridged the gap between mainstream pop and the indie underground.
And sticking with that Orbit legacy, you have to hear Tender by Blur. It adds that beautiful gospel and electronic depth to the British indie vanguard.
Then we are heading to Helsinki for A Deep Sigh by Shed from the Body. It captures that supernova darkwave intensity we were just discussing.
Next up, representing the fuzzed-out alleys of Leeds is Yard Act with The Overload. It really highlights the city's status as a post-punk powerhouse.
From there, we look to Minneapolis for Lullaby by Low. This is a foundational slowcore track that grounds the atmospheric sound of the ambient city.
For something a bit more modern, Slowdive's Kisses is the perfect shoegaze pop companion for the dating aesthetic we touched on earlier.
We also have Hell is Round the Corner by Tricky on the list. It is an essential interstellar trip-hop reference with that dark, neon-lit introspection.
To understand the Riot Grrrl lineage behind this week's new indie pop releases, you absolutely need Rebel Girl by Bikini Kill.
And for anyone feeling a bit algorithmically bruised, Adrienne Lenker's Anything is a total lifeline. It really embodies that raw human spark.
Finally, we have Simulation Swarm by Big Thief. It is a highlight of modern art pop that turns frustration into pure melody.
And with that stack on your queue,
I'm Sloan Rivera. Thanks for joining us in the booth today. Keep your ears open and your records spinning.
And I'm Julian Vance. We will be back tomorrow with more scene intelligence. Find us at stereocurrent.neuralnewscast.com. Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com.
This has been Stereo Current on Neural Newscast. Sound, culture, and the systems that shape them.